Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are having a very hard time learning where shading goes in your drawings, and you need an easy hatching method to use for adding shadows to your drawings, just give me 10 minutes of your time. And by the time we're done, you will be able to stop guessing because you're gonna finally know the easiest method for shading with pen and ink. Okay, so the very first thing that you have to understand, and honestly, it's the biggest mistake that beginners overlook when shading, is understanding form. Most students and artists, they don't understand form. They only practice contour lines and outline drawings. But if you don't understand form, then it's the thing that dictates where light and shadow go. So how do you learn form? Well, the solution is actually very simple. You need to think like a sculptor. You need to familiarize yourself with the basic plutonic forms. There's 4 of them. You got to familiarize yourself with the sphere, the cube, the cylinder, and the pointless cone. Now, before you think, not another how to learn to draw shapes drawing video, stick with me because they're not just shapes, they're the forms that make up virtually everything around us. And the sooner you learn these forms from every angle, the faster you're going to learn exactly where to add shadows. Okay, so how do you learn them? Well, this is the best and fastest way to learn these forms so that you can quickly cement them into your amazing artistic brain cells. I want you to draw each form inside a cube in 1-point perspective and 2-point perspective. Use this specific drill to familiarize yourself with these forms because they're going to be the blueprint for everything that you draw. So it's this part of the method that sets the foundation for your amazingly good understanding of why light and shadow and shading and hatching exist in the first place, which is to describe form. All right, so now that you know what to do to practice the plutonic forms, it's time to go over the 4 simple types of shadows that will describe the forms in 3D. And if you want to know where to hatch, you need to know what these shadows are. For right now, just use simple hatch marks like this for your hatching. Try to follow the direction of each form, but honestly, the most important part, it really is just learning where to concentrate your hatch marks. And I'll show you how. Okay, so now let's talk about the light sources. Light sources is what's going to dictate where you add your hatching, your shadows. Okay, light source is basically where the light is coming from. Okay, so there are 5 light sources, 5 sources. Number 1, we have front light. Okay, wherever you look, that's what it's going to be. We're going to show you, I'm going to show you this using a cylinder. Okay, so as the light is coming this way, everything is lit up. You're not going to have, there's no cast shadow because the shape or this form is covering the cast shadow. But you will have slight hints, just the slightest hints of hatching. Again, the hatching doesn't matter, right? What I'm teaching you is that if you understand these light sources and the forms, even the worst hatching in the world will make sense, okay? That's what it's going to look like. There's just a tiny bit of shadow from the form because of how it is wrapping around, okay? So then the next source is going to be the 3/4 front light. Okay, so that's going to look like this right here. 3/4 is basically this way. Okay, it can be any way, up, down, whatever, but it's 3/4. So what that's going to end up looking like on a cylinder on this form is because it's 3/4 front lit, 1/4 is going to be in shadow. Okay, so I always start with a cast shadow. That's going to determine what I need to separate, right? This is the darkest value. This is a cast shadow, the darkest value. Always start with a shadow, cast shadow, because it's 3/4 front lit. Now we're going to add in those A and B midtones. So this is the midtone. the darkest mid-tone. And then this part right here is the light mid-tone. You can even add a little bit of something like that too if you want, as long as you understand that principle. And then don't forget the reflective light. So if the light's coming here, it's coming this way, bouncing off, and it's going to hit this part. So that reflective light is going to be darker than your midtones, but lighter than your core shadow, okay? With this angle, your cast shadow is going to be in whatever direction the light source is. So here's the direction. We're going to find the point that sticks out the most, right? And it's going to go from here, again, bounce, and now it's going to go this way, okay? So we were to imagine, right? We're thinking like a sculptor. Imagine this is 3D. It's going to come off that table. So that's fine. Now what do? Then we shade this part in, same value as the cast shadow, as the core shadow rather, sorry. Same value as the core shadow. Okay? So that's how you determine the form, the lighting, and where to hatch. Okay, so let's go on to let's do number 3. This is going to be the side light. Hopefully this is helping. Hopefully it's making sense. Let's use a cylinder. Okay. So if it's side lit, which one of these are we going to use? Right here. There's no dimensionality because it's the side. When you have a very turned arrow, right? It's going to look like this. This is 50-50 right here. So you have this light source. The cast shadow is where I start. And you're going to put that cast shadow right here. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Remember, the types of marks is not nearly as important as knowing where to put them. Okay, so this is the darkest point. Then you have your two midtones, right? You have A and B, midtones. So that's going to come from here, and I always just cross them just like that. And then you have your midtones. So light, and then medium. Right here, light will be right here, okay? And then, of course, we have our reflective light. Next. So reflective light is less dark. It's not as dark as this core shadow, but it's darker than your midtones. Okay? So if I do something like this, it's not quite as dark, so I'm going to go again. All right, there it is. Now, if the light is sideways and you have this line, here's a rule of thumb. If you have a flash, let's say you have a light bulb right here, right? That light bulb is going to be your perspective. Okay? And so as a result, you're going to find where that point is, and that's what it's going to look like. Okay? That's what your shadow is going to look like. If it's here. If it's here and you have a light bulb right here, right? Same thing. That's going to be your perspective. If the light source is like the sun, something that's far, 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 far away, right? I don't know if you can see the sun. Let me see if it's okay. All right, you have a house and you got mountain ranges. That's the sun. Well, now you just go with the direction of the light source. So now it's going to be like this, okay? So where's the base? It's right here. That's going to be your shadow. And it's basically going to go on forever until it dissipates. So what do? Well, you start adding in that cast shadow. You can make it as dark as you want. I would make it as dark as this core shadow, but because it's so long, you will end up tapering and fading away eventually. But it's very dark, and it's very dark for long. Okay, so we got those three sources. There's two more sources, very important sources. Okay, number four is going to be 3/4 backlit light. Okay, so that's going to look like this. Okay, so it's coming this way. So again, we're going to use the cylinder. And with a 3/4 backlit, you're going to have only 1/4 in light. Okay, start with the cast shadow. So what's a quarter? We have the half. That's 1/3, 1/4. So 1/4, half, 3/4, 1, 0. Okay, so we're going to have the core shadow right here. Not like the other one where it was only 1/4 in shadow. Now it's 3/4 in shadow, or 1/4 in light. Okay, remember this is your darkest values, that core shadow. Now we're going to do your midtones. Just a little bit here, right? Midtones. And then you're going to have your reflective light. So most of this is going to be in reflective light. And again, you don't even have to contour the form. It's good practice to do it. But as you can see, it's very, very bad. It's very not the best hatching. And that's the whole point of this method. You don't have to hatch very good. You just need to know where to hatch. Okay? Now let's look at the cast shadow. How do we get the cast shadow? Well, if it's a local light, if it's, a light bulb, right? Then we would use this as your point of reference, right? But for simplicity's sake, let's say it's the sun, okay? Or let's say the sun's over here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to use that direction. No matter how far we go out, it's going to be the same direction. There's no angle. When it's the sun, there's no angle. When it's a local light, there's an angle, okay? When it's the sun, straight lines. So the straight lines are going to be here. Let's go here. We always draw the other part of the base, the form. Okay, we're going to go in that direction, backlit. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and draw the cast shadow. As we're hatching, as we're drawing these shadings, remember, it doesn't matter what type of hatching you're using. Just follow the guides. Now, we're not doing occlusion shadows, because we're keeping it simple, okay? Occlusion shadow would be, the darkest would be right here, and you can kind of taper it out a little bit. It's good to know that, but for right now, you keep it the same value as your core value, okay? All right, so the last light source is, it's called rear light, which is also silhouette. I think that's how you spell it. Okay, so with this light, you're actually going to have, it's going to look like this. Oh, my bad, sorry. Wow, actually, I need to correct myself. This is actually front light, and this is rear light coming this way, okay? All right, hope I didn't confuse you guys. So this is the end of the arrow. This is front light. And then this is the point coming right at us. This is rear light. Okay? This could be right here. All right, so with rear light, everything's coming this way. This is what it's going to look like. This is what your cylinder is going to look like. Basically, everything is going to be in shadow with a twist, okay? So when somebody is in the front of a light and the light's coming this way, you're going to create a silhouette, right? But what happens is if there's a wall here, the light's going to come, reflect off, and then hit. So the outside tends to be the darkest. Okay, that's the silhouette. This tends to be the darkest. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you make the perimeter the darkest, okay? And to do that, you just hatch around wherever you can in the perimeter just to make it dark. Simple process. Now with the form, you're still going to have, it's going to still be darker, not as dark, but still going to be darker. And you're going to have that reflective light. So the reflective light's still going to be here. It's basically right? Doesn't matter how pretty you make it, as long as you get the values in. Okay, and now where's the cast shadow going to be? Well, it's going to be coming this way. If it's like this, the cast shadow is basically going to be like this. It's just right in front of you. If it's angled a little bit down, then the cast shadow is just going to come basically forever. Okay? Again, darkest possible way. Understanding these 5 different light sources, and again, I apologize mixing up the little arrow from the front light and the rear light, but hopefully you get it. Okay, knowing these sources and the shapes, the 4 plutonic shapes, is going to help you understand the next thing that I'm going to be going over, okay? Holy smokes, you did it. You learned the most fundamental and most important part about where to add shadows. So now remember, hatching follows the form of your object. As you familiarize yourself with the perspective of each form from the first drill that I had you do, you can begin shading each form in different angles and in different views. So this method is so simple and easy to use once you've practiced a few times that it doesn't really matter how perfect your hatching lines are. You don't need to create Marvel comic hatch lines or be perfect. In fact, you can use stippling, scribbling, or messy hatch lines, but as long as they follow the form and the 4 different shadows in your object with the 5 different lighting principles, anything and any form that you hatch and add shading to is going to come out great. Okay, so now let's look at how a simple combination of plutonic forms is used to visualize the human figure or a mannequin. Using this simple method in this video, you can easily identify where your shading needs to be added so you don't have to guess anymore. And as long as you understand form and light sources, just like I explained, shading actually becomes a method that you can implement anytime. And if you want to learn a little bit more about pen and ink drawings, check out any of these videos that are this side or this side here. Got some videos posted up here, okay? So I hope you found tons of value in this video. Rewatch it as many times as you need, and I hope you consider liking and subscribing for more content. My mission is to help as many people understand that they can learn how to draw with pen and ink and express the very nature that God placed within us, which is to be creative. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.